Hello, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. This is another day that is a beautiful day. I wish it was beautiful and sunny. It is raining in Cambridge, Massachusetts. But we are blessed to be here today, honored and privileged to continue conversations we have promised you to bring you ordinary people doing extraordinary things, transformational in nature for humanity. Welcome, TJK Shares. Today, we have a friend, somebody we've worked with, mentor, guide, dedicated mother, wife, sister, everything that fits extraordinary person fits Sara. Sara with no H. Welcome to TJK. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Please greet the audience and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, it's awesome to be here. Thanks for inviting me. So I've known Jackson for 12 years, working together in partnership in Uganda. I am the founder of Beautiful World Canada Foundation and started Beautiful World with the idea to support the poorest girls in the poorest countries, and was really excited to see what changes in the world I could achieve by that kind of funding mandate. And have been a proud supporter of NYANCA for many, many years, as well as running the foundation. I'm also an entrepreneur, so I have a couple of businesses that I run, and I am a mom to 3 kids.
Wonderful. A mom to 3 kids and a husband?
Yes.
And the husband in the family, extraordinary man, Brad. And where were you born and raised? And what role did your parents play in shaping the type of woman you've become?
So I was born in a rural community in Ontario, Canada. So about 2 hours north of Toronto, which is the city that usually people have heard of when it comes to Canada. Community that I grew up in was a fairly poor community, and went to school in a very rural public school, had the opportunity to go to great high school, and then went on to a fantastic university. My parents were amazing. I grew up in the family business with them, so they taught me a lot of what I know about being an entrepreneur and really instilled that entrepreneurial spirit in me. And they always valued education. So my parents both received post-secondary education in Canada, and it was definitely something that I knew from a very young age that I would want to pursue. What I'm really deeply grateful for in Canada especially is we go to primary school for free in Canada. We go to high school for free in Canada. And going on to either college or university education, the doors are really open to everybody. We have loan systems in Canada. We have extensive scholarships in Canada. So in Canada, it's not, your education isn't blocked by poverty. There is a path to go to university in Canada for everyone. Not always easy, absolutely not. But I'm really lucky and grateful to be a Canadian where we have these opportunities.
Yeah, so that's amazing. We've been talking here at Harvard in some of the courses, using our privilege to benefit others. Because somebody seated in Winnipeg or Vancouver going, I see Sara has done this, working with the entire group of people. Brad, the husband, supports her. How do I get started to do this? Please talk a little bit about why girls. You talked about why education, but also the challenges you face running a foundation in Toronto, Canada, to help girls in sub-Saharan Africa.
Oh, so many questions there, Jackson.
You're the best for it.
I think the important thing is, I think the moment for me, I came to the point where I was upset about a lot of things that were happening in the world, and I was complaining about them. And I reached a point where I said, I want to be an example to my children that when you see a problem in the world, you don't complain about it. You do something to participate in solving the problem. And that was kind of the moment that started me on the path to realizing that I wanted to be active in solving some of these problems instead of just being one of those people that, reads the articles or reads the things in the newspaper and complains about the way the world is. So that was kind of the starting point for me. And I think as a woman in Canada, things aren't perfect here in Canada for women, but it's pretty fantastic to be a woman here. And I recognize that that is not the case in many countries throughout the world. Being a woman in some countries, I work in Sierra Leone where FGM is a normal practice. Like, it's just very different in the world for women. And at that point in time, I really wanted to see, that thesis of, when the poorest girls are educated, what happens? And I had read about all these multiplier effects and how they, take their income and help their families, and that it ends a cycle of poverty because now when they have children, their children are raised to go to school and have opportunities that they didn't. So that was what I was really excited about. And when I decided to get involved in the space of higher education, because that's where I believe a lot of impact is made. When I look at my life, it's really the opportunity that I had to go to university here in Ontario. I have an undergrad and I have a master's, and that's what really opened a lot of doors for me, was those university degrees. So I wanted more girls to have the opportunity to pursue a higher education, and was really excited about that. I think for people, as they're wanting to participate in making the world a better place, I think the thing is, it's, I think it's deciding what is your area that you're really passionate and excited about. Learning as much as you can about it, and finding organizations that are in that space that you can work with to learn more. And then if it happens to be another part of the world that really interests you, it's going to that part of the world and learning and speaking to lots of different people, and then figuring out what your path is to help towards solving the problem.
Very good. 12 years into it, I remember the first time I spoke actually at the first gathering in Toronto to raise money, and you told me that your goal is to educate 1 million girls in your lifetime. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen who are listening to us, Sara is chipping on that number slowly by slowly. I wish we could go and talk about each of the girls that have gone through. And Nyaka was blessed and honored to have some boys in the beginning who went on a scholarship, including our own Dr. Hilary and another one, Dennis, who is also in pursuing medicine because of your support and the supporters of Beautiful World Canada. Does any particular example jump out as success story that you can share with us?
There are so many. We have over 1,000 students that have gone through our program. We're currently enrolled in our program. So, it's definitely a lot harder. I think my million goal, I'm hoping to live to be very, very old so that I can achieve that goal. It's definitely harder than I expected in this work and in this space. There are so many examples. I think I'll use a student that is one of your students. So we had a student named Sarah. Sarah was supported by her grandfather, who sold off his land to support his granddaughter going to school. I believe her parents passed away, so he was raising her. And we don't see a lot of situations like that. That's actually a unique one, where it's the grandfather raising the grandchildren. That's kind of unique. I'd say for us, it's usually grandmothers that are raising the grandchildren. So this one's kind of unique. He came to a point where he had nothing left to sell. And we were working with Jennifer in your organization. We had some scholarship spots to offer to girls in the community. Your Jennifer and your selection team selected Sarah to join the program. So she started with us in senior 5, which is grade 11, went on to law school with exceptional marks. I remember Jennifer calling me one day and she said, I think she might go to jail because she's petitioning the government as a student, which is a very brave move for a Ugandan girl. But succeeded. She's a lawyer now. She's doing exceptionally well. She's a lawyer at a big bank. And I think the ways that she will impact her community and inspire other young girls to pursue education. Like, she is an extremely strong woman who, you know, is forging her own path and is so passionate, and perseverance is, you know, just incredible, for that particular student. But there are so many. I think each individual student that comes into our program is coming in for unique reasons, unique challenges. And it's amazing to see the transformations that take place. That's the true honor in the work I do, is seeing the transformations.
And those of you who have your computers out, you go to Beautiful World Canada Facebook page, go on Beautiful World Canada X handle, formerly Twitter, go on Beautiful World Canada Instagram. Every single day, I go to look at those success stories. And Sara in particular, Sara Rukundo. Interestingly, you're talking to Sara, the success story she talked about is Sara Rukundo. Sara Rukundo is now working with Stanbic Bank in Uganda in the legal department, full trained lawyer. So if somebody now messes up with me, Sara will sue you for me. She has become successful. Definitely support was huge, but you also have an ingredient within the work you do of mentorship, preparation, budgeting, dressing. You have people who come and mentor, and Sara, part of her success also is tied in Emma Mugisha, who mentored her at early age, allowed her to stay in Kampala, the capital city, while she attended university. And I don't know whether you know this, Sara has a baby now.
Ah,
She's a
you know what, Jackson, you talk about critical ingredients. I mean, I get asked that question. What are the critical ingredients in a scholarship program in terms of the work we do? And I actually speak to the mentorship as being one of the most critical ingredients in our work. I've met mentors many times when I've traveled, and talked to the students about the importance of their mentors. You know, when they don't have a family and someone needs to show up for them at a university event, you know, it's their mentors showing up, and you know, they're going to their mentor's home, they're feeling that connection. But I think most importantly, when they're feeling like they are at such a challenge and a struggle, they have that person that they can go to who understands what the challenges they're facing, because they've had those same challenges, and they can help and support and guide them through. And that's been, you know, the benefits of the mentorship program have just been so immense. When we started that program, we didn't even understand, you know, the mentors have been a lot of reason the first line of employment for our students. They're opening up their networks and helping them get employed. And, you know, there's been so many benefits that we didn't even realize were going to happen when we started the mentorship program for our students. So you also spoke of another one that's near and dear to my heart, which is our graduation preparation program. We're teaching students to write business plans. We're teaching them financial literacy skills like budgeting, resumes, cover letters, networking, you know, social media, and you know, how to use that in a way that's not going to be limiting when you go to get a career and apply for jobs. And that's been also a really critical program. We found when our first set of graduates graduated, we had some students go back to the villages and not be employed. And we kind of said, okay, that's not the success we imagined when they graduated. So we developed that program to really make sure that when they're graduated, once they've graduated, they really know what they need to do to get a job.
Yes, the ingredients, the sauce in ingredients. I'm sure we had one of the students, or the ones who have graduated, they would speak to that. And Sara does make a difference in the community. She mentors younger girls. She's a mentor, she's a mentee, and she continues to thrive in that area. I referred to your social media handles, Beautiful World social media handles, and people are going to go and see all the smiling faces, all the success. And somebody might walk away going, this work is so easy, it's just a Sara, please share some of the critical challenges that you face doing this work.
There's a lot of challenges. Our model is finding local program partners who are based in the communities to work with. So we don't send Canadians over to run these programs, and we don't have a Canadian chapter in Africa. We are working entirely with local program partners to run the work. I think that is one of the also critical ingredients in our work, but occasionally we'll run into a program partner, leadership changes, and all of a sudden your organization that has been one of your best running organizations, they're no longer performing the way they were. They're not supporting the students the way they were. Their financial reporting is late, all sorts of challenges. So that's kind of one of them. I think the most heartbreaking one is the students that we support through a couple of years of education and their families. I believe because of desperation, they decide that it's better for them to get married. So they'll remove them from school. They'll get the bride price, and unfortunately the students will be married off when they're quite young, just having not graduated. Our local program partners, like Jennifer in your organization, step into those circumstances often and really help and support the girls as much as they can to advocate for another path. But unfortunately, there is cases where we just can't make it happen, that the families are determined that this is going to be the path the girls are going to have. And I think the girls, because this is their only family, there's not a lot of choice in those circumstances. So that's a huge one for us. It happens a couple times a year. We see students where that's the reality for them, which is really sad. And then I think the other one, which and a charity has to speak to, is the challenge is funding. There's so many students that need our help and support. For every application spot we have, we often have 10, 20 applications for every spot. We love to support them all, but we only have the funding in order to support the number that we do have. So, that continues to be that we could support way more students than we have the funds to do. But, we really work hard to take the funds that are given to us, the donations that come in. We're very grateful for those donations, and we just try to make the most changes for the most students as possible with that funding.
Wow. So it is not all the breeze. No, there are struggles doing this work, doing good work, and still struggling with early marriages, funding issues, managing distance. I am also pleased to see Brenda, one of another kid that calls me Papa. The Nyaka children call me Papa. But now working for you, beautiful world, Canada, in Uganda to mentor, but also guide and help other students who are working in that capacity. So
Jackson, she's running a really incredible program. So she's actually running our very first grant with Global Affairs Canada. So this is our very first time receiving Government of Canada funding. And she's running an incredible program with 80 girls through NIACA, and it's all with the support of the Government of Canada. So that's been a grant we're really happy to receive. It's a tremendous opportunity, and she's doing an absolutely fantastic job. And there's so much reporting and different aspects to that grant, but it's been really fantastic. So she's done an excellent job.
Wonderful. And you trained her really, really, really good. So people are going to watch this and go, how do I get involved? If I am wanting to volunteer or raise money in my community for a girl in Sierra Leone, or I am downtown Toronto, once in a week I have time, how can people help? And then after you answer general people, talk about younger people, middle school, high school, all over the world. What can people do to get involved in this transformational work?
Yeah, so people can get involved in a lot of ways. And I think it depends on what are their skill sets and what do they have to offer, right? So, if your person has finance or accounting skills, they can come in and help volunteer in that aspect. If they're a marketing person, they can help, offer some marketing suggestions and ideas or help with social media. So when we're looking at volunteers coming to our organization, we are really trying to assess, what is it that they want to do? What are the skills and talents they have that they want to contribute to our work, that we can utilize? Often we have people organizing fundraising events. Sometimes they'll run a race. Sometimes they'll host an event at their home. All different ways that they'll fundraise for us. Our board members are all volunteers. We use volunteer committees to do marketing. We use volunteer committees to run events. So lots of different types of volunteers that we have in our organization, and donors as well. When it comes to youth, I think that the really great way for youth to get involved in this cause and to get involved with Beautiful World, first, I think it's learning, there's an education component, I think, which is really a great opportunity, is just to, I think the big question is, what is it like for girls living across the world? What access do they have to education, and how does that impact their lives? And really understanding that issue. And, in understanding that issue, it opens up a lot of opportunities. They could do fundraising at their school. They can even get together with their classmates and talk about these issues. Because I think a lot of times we don't really, we imagine the world that we live in is the world that everybody else lives in, the same privileges and opportunities we have, everybody else has. And I think that piece of just, awareness of the way that it is for girls in other countries and the challenges and barriers they face, and educating others about those realities is really important. So when it comes to Beautiful World, we take students to help and support in a lot of different ways. We actually have students usually join us every summer, and they'll help with social media, and they'll help, writing sponsor student updates, various programs and stuff that they'll help us with. But usually we'll have one or two that really help and support in a significant way.
Very good. Young people can get involved, older people can get involved, corporations can get involved. There's something for everybody, especially since all of us, most of us, have gotten an education, and education got us the platform that we are using. I always ask our guests, if you can go back to your younger self, what advice would you give your younger self if you were speaking to a Sara at 18 to 21 years of age?
Oh, that's a tough question. I thought about this one because you warned me about this one. So I thought about this one, and I really came to the point of thinking about, I remember, especially when I started Beautiful World, I had so much lack of confidence that I could actually get involved in this space. I didn't have an international development background, and I really questioned that I could have an impact in this space, in this challenge. And I was kind of thinking, I'm not sufficient enough to do this work. And I think that is the piece of advice that I would give, is just to, forge forward with confidence, and I think the intention to help solve the problem, and always lead with that, and lead with that in a confident way, instead of being so nervous and afraid and feeling so insufficient to solve the problem.
Very good advice, and treatable advice. And so, because we promised you we'll keep you for a short time, the information there's so much we can talk about. We can talk about every single girl, every single challenge you've gone through, our hiring process, our personnel management. You and I have had phone calls where we were both crying, scratching our heads, giving advice to each other. You've mentored me, I've mentored you, we've commented each other. And so the conversation could go on and on and on. But for the purposes of young people who are listening, please give them just direct advice on, if somebody wants to make a positive impact in this world. From Sara to you, our listeners, give them an advice on how to go about it, using all your personal experiences or anything you've read around.
The advice that I would give is, once you know what area of the world you want to impact, the difference you want to make, I think it's to find people that have gone before you, that know how to solve the problems you want, get their advice, get their mentorship, learn from them, and really take that advice and support and really put that into the decisions you're making and what you're doing. When I started Beautiful World, the first thing that I did was reach out to people who knew how to do what I was doing, had done it in other organizations, and they provided a ton of counsel and advice and mentoring and support that really led to us creating our programs the way that we did. And I think that was just, there are people who know how to solve and the problems you want to solve. Get their advice and counsel and guidance. Don't go it alone. Don't recreate the wheel. Just get those people and get their advice and really take it, and they'll support you in so many ways for so long, and it'll make what you do so much more effective, and it'll make it a lot easier. I think that, go it alone, you go alone. Go with a team, it's faster, it's easier, right? So that's the advice that I would give.
You will go far. Sara, thank you so much. Please give your boys big hugs. You've demonstrated to them what any parent would want to demonstrate to their children, that the world goes beyond Toronto, goes all over the world. Thank Brad for us, who partners with you in this and does all this behind the scenes support. Your board members, and to all girls and boys who have benefited from Beautiful World Canada, on behalf of all of them, we thank you. We appreciate you, and thank you for coming here to share just a little bit with our audience so they can get inspired, they can learn, relearn, and unlearn as we continue to make a difference in this world.
Jackson, I applaud you having this podcast and sharing good stories. I think we live in a world where there is so much focus on doom and gloom. And I think youth have such a distorted perception of the world, and they're really only taught all the bad things that happen, but there's so many incredible things happening, and there's so many people that are working so hard to make this world a better place. And I think the forum of sharing those things that are happening and the things that are happening to make this world incredible, it just needs to be shared way more often. I think that people have a negative, pessimistic view on the world, but if there's more sharing like this, then they see the world for what it is, which is truly incredible.
Thank you. We encourage all of you. You heard Sara. Share, subscribe. Let's continue to make a difference. We all will leave this world. Our legacy will be the deeds we did for others that will stay and continue to flow like a river that has no ending.